of the expression garbage in, garbage out? It means that if you put nonsense data into a computer, you'll get nonsense back. Computers aren't smart and they don't understand. They just process what you give them. So if you provide garbage, you'll get garbage in return. Imagine reading poorly written text full of typos or confusing sentences. It's frustrating to figure out the intended meaning. The same goes for translation. If the original text isn't clear, a successful translation is unlikely. To get good results, you need a translation-friendly text, one that's clear and easy for the machine to process. In our 2 videos, we'll explore pre-editing techniques, ways to adjust your text before you machine translate it. These techniques help make your text translation friendly and prevent common machine translation mistakes. Knowing what doesn't come easily to machine translation technologies will help you anticipate errors. In a nutshell, these technologies struggle with unusual, ambiguous, or compound words, inconsistent terminology, abbreviations and acronyms, frequent use of pronouns, passive voice, long, complicated sentences, improper or missing punctuation, overuse of all caps, unnecessary line breaks, and idiomatic expressions. So let's have a look at how you can mitigate these challenges. Our tip number 1 is, choose common or everyday words over their less common or more obscure equivalents. For example, use swelling instead of edema, cough instead of expectoration, and help instead of assistance. Remember, current machine translation systems use a data-driven approach where the tool learns by looking at examples. Rare or obscure words are less likely to appear in the training corpus, whereas everyday words will be plentiful. This means that the machine translation tool will be more familiar with the everyday words and will have a better chance of translating them correctly. Let's move on to tip number 2, avoid abbreviations. Abbreviations are shortened words that we use to save time. But overusing them creates an alphabet soup that can be confusing. People can often guess meanings from context or by applying common sense, but translation tools can't. Abbreviations can also have multiple meanings, like the English HR for heart rate or human resources. Abbreviations may also lack official translations in other languages. So, to ensure a clear translation, try to use full words instead. Now, our tip number 3, minimize the use of pronouns. Pronouns are words that can replace nouns or noun phrases. Replacing a noun with a pronoun can make a text seem less repetitive, but sometimes it can lead to confusion if it is not clear which noun the pronoun is replacing. The greater the distance between the pronoun and the noun in a sentence, the more challenging it can be for machine translation to connect the two. The use of pronouns may also lead to problems when translating from a language such as English, which does not use grammatical gender, into a language such as Portuguese or Polish, which does. If it is not clear which noun is being replaced by it, then the automatic translation tool could assign the wrong gender to the pronoun, making the resulting text confusing. Take, for instance, this sentence. The nurse poured the water from the bottle into the cup until it was empty. A human reader or translator can use real-world knowledge to figure out that the bottle, rather than the cup, is empty. However, an automatic translation tool is not intelligent and does not understand the text or the way the world works, so it will likely translate this sentence in a way that indicates that the cup is empty. See for yourself. In this example, the machine translation translated the word it into a masculine form, which in Portuguese refers to the cup, not to the bottle. To reduce this type of problem, consider repeating the noun instead of replacing it with a pronoun. Are you ready for tip number 4? Prefer active voice. The active voice is typically more straightforward than the passive voice because it is clear who is doing the action as well as who is receiving it. With the passive voice, it may be possible to leave out the information about who is carrying out the action, such as in the sentence, "The medicine will be given to you." In this case, it is not clear who is giving the medicine to the patient. Although the passive voice is a legitimate option, it often leads to constructions that are longer, more complex, and more difficult to understand. Therefore, the active voice is usually a more translation-friendly option. Let's turn to our fifth piece of advice. Aim to write mid-length sentences. These are sentences that are neither too long, over 35 words, nor too short, under 7 words, but somewhere in the middle, that is, around 15 to 25 words. Just right. It's not hard to understand why long sentences might cause problems for translation. As a reader, it's easy to lose track of the intended meaning in a sentence that goes on and on and on. But why are short sentences problematic? Short sentences can be confusing because the relationships between different elements in the sentence could be left implicit rather than being explicitly identified. When something is implicit, it means the reader or translator or automatic translation tool needs to figure it out. Since automatic translation tools don't have access to real-world knowledge or common sense, they might have trouble working out the intended meaning of a short sentence. For instance, the meaning of the short sentence "filing errors cost" is something along the lines of, when you make a mistake filing information, it costs the hospital a lot of money. And if the automatic translation tool cannot decipher the intended meaning, you could end up with a nonsense translation such as "custo de erros de arquivo" instead of the intended translation. For more tips, please see our next video. Many of the examples and tips we share come from Lynn Boker's Open Access book, which you can also explore for additional insights. Happy learning!